Welcome to the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour here from the streets of Gaia. It is Macau, the legendary circuit that takes no prisoners. All eyes, my friends, are on this gentleman here, Jan Erlache, who leads the standings with 34 points ahead of this gentleman over here, his teammate Ted Bjork. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do, because Macau is a very tricky place to qualify, and you need friends, and in this case it is these two gentlemen who are going to be acting as a support for each other to some extent, and they do what we call a tow situation in qualifying here. Can you talk us through that towing strategy and how it's going to work out for you guys?
It will depend a little bit how it goes after Q1. But regarding free practice, at the moment it looks like I will tow Ted run 1 in Q2 if we get there, and he will tow me on the run 2. But you know, strategy are meant to change and adapt, so we will see through the quali. Yesterday we saw that the Hyundais were very strong. We're hoping, I guess, from your position that it was all down to fresh tyres, but what are your thoughts in Lynk & Co camp?
It was not down to fresh tyres. We were all kind of on the same tyre strategy. They have a clear advantage on us down to straight, so first sector and last sector. So we will just try to maximize the potential of the car where we know it's strong, and we will try to fight for a top 3 spot. That's the main goal today, but the overall main goal is the championship, so let's see how it goes.
Yeah, all right, power's on. Yeah, so like Jan said, overall goal for him is the championship position. So ultimately, as long as he qualifies ahead of his teammate Ted, then that will be a good position for him to be in. But pretty much every session over this weekend so far has been red flagged. So it doesn't really matter what strategy you try and play, anything can change. Other news, so like I said, Hyundai were really quick yesterday. They have got the outright pace from what we can tell in free practice so far. Particularly Michael Ascona, he smashed out 2 brilliant free practice sessions. In other news, Santi Urrutia takes I think in total about 24 placed grid penalty due to a change of engine, change of turbo. So he will start race 1, regardless of what happens in qualifying. He will start race 1 from the back. Important for him, though, will be opportunising, don't think that's a word, but making the most of this qualifying session, aiming for P10. Therefore, for the main race, or main race in Macau terms, on Sunday, he could potentially start race 2 in pole position. All right, so that's the lay of the land. Let's see what happens, eh? Gaia.
Qualifying ready to get underway here on the Gaia circuit in Macau for the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour event of Macau. The Gaia race has been a fabled touring car race for decades. It has had some great entries, some great racing. It ran for many years as a non-championship race. More recently, it's been part of World Championships, whether it's been the World Touring Car Championship or World TCR, or now TCR World Tour. There's a slippery track over at turn 16, but the first part of qualifying is ready to go. Remember that we're looking for the top 12. They get half an hour for Q1, and the top 12 out of the 17 that we have here in Macau go through into the second element, 15 minutes. And Santiago Urrutia, 12-place grid drop for a turbo change, 12-place grid drop for an engine change. That means he starts somewhere near Hong Kong.
Yeah, you're right. It couldn't be worse, really, could it? No, it's a very difficult thing to go into a race weekend starting from the back, but at least you know what you've got ahead of you.
True. He's not going to be much use in terms of a point scorer, but he's not nominated for points for Lynk & Co this weekend, but he's also not going to be much use to his teammates in the race, but he might be there in qualifying to be used to tow all of them around as needs be, because come what may, he's going to be at the back, so there's very little point wasting a good set of tyres and putting too much in, because he's going to go to the back of the grid come what may. Right, Q1 is underway then. The car's out of the assembly area. David Addison and Alan Hyde are trackside in 288. They're going down the assembly road is Sean Chang. there aren't that many local drivers, sadly. Quite a few appeared on the original entry, but for whatever reason, their participation didn't materialise. We do have Sean Chang. We also do have Andy Liang, who hit the wall at Melco yesterday, and we do have the very rapid Lo Se-ho, and he's going to be a man to watch, I suspect. Championship-wise, Jan Erlaché, 34-point lead over Ted Bjork, but there are 15 points at stake here if you get pole position. So the championship situation in either driver's favour will be affected by what we have in this qualifying hour.
Doesn't seem too worried about the championship points at this stage of the weekend. That will intensify as the weekend goes on, but Jan seems very cool and calm when Alex has a chat to him down there on the grid. He's been calm all weekend. It does remind me, you know, listening to him doing an interview of Ivan Muller, his uncle, and how cool and calm he always seemed, and the accent kind of helps that as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, his mum raced here in Formula 3. Catherine Muller was a very good single-seater and occasional sports car racer. And Jan Erlaché came into touring cars via Midjet, via the Sirocco R Cup, via French Super Tourism. He's raced in the European Le Mans Series, the Road to Le Mans. Like Uncle Ivan, he's been good in Trophy Andros ice racing. Yves Erlaché is his dad. And, World Touring Car champion back in 2021, Jan Erlaché. So a driver to watch. He has had 4 race wins this year to the 3 of Ted Bjork, and you're on board here with the GOAT Racing Honda of Esteban Guerrieri that yesterday seemed to be drawn magnetically up the escape road down at Lisboa. But this is the Melco hairpin where you can't overtake, not because it's too narrow, but by regulation you're not allowed to even think about it because it's so narrow. And Guerrieri skips out the other side of the hairpin and accelerates now down through black sands.
The back-facing camera, having a look at the driver's concentration, is something to be really quite interested in the touring cars. You really do see the ultimate concentration, barely blinking inside the car, and that is the nature of the gear circuit here at Macau. Every single centimetre of the circuit requires your 100% concentration, doesn't it? Lap after lap.
Right, so through go Erlaché and Bjork. Jan Erlaché is not going to be of any use to Ted Bjork and help him to go faster with the toe, is he? So neither driver really benefiting from any team plan at the moment as you go on board with Jan Erlaché down towards the fast right-hander of Mandarin, and he's a little bit sideways there and he has to fight the car out the other side. Sharp intake of breath from all concerned, but Jan Erlaché gets away with that, but it shows already he's on the limit.
That's a heck of a corner to get it wrong, because you haven't got too much room for manoeuvre, nor have you got too much room for manoeuvre on the exit of Lisboa. So close to the barriers in these touring cars, as now they thread their way up through the tight and twisty section of the gear circuit here at Macau, through Maternity, the hospital over there on the left-hand side. Teddy Yip, the left-hander, which comes. What do we see just there? Something we just saw over to the left-hand side. Not too sure about that, but Jan Erlaché continues on his way on board with Ted Bjork, the top 2 in the championship.
And Bjork was slightly quicker in Sector 1, but Norbert Mikelish quicker than anybody, and Mikael Ashken quicker than anybody in Sector 2. The significance of that being it's the Hyundais fighting back. They had a really bad start to the season. The cars just did not seem to like the altitude in Mexico, and that's where it was a triple race weekend. Really was the undoing for the whole season. They've been fighting to catch up ever since, and it's been difficult given the strength of Link and Co. Erlaché versus Bjork then on track, but also for the championship, 34 points between them.
Yeah, top 2 in the championship, battling it out this weekend here at Macau for the title of 2025 Kumho FIA TCR World Tour Champion. And as we get ourselves now towards the Melco hairpin, the run down the hill, the green light, that means they can overtake after the Melco hairpin, the run down towards the conclusion of the first of the flying laps of this half-an-hour Q1 of qualifying for the touring cars.
And you can see here how the laps are being pieced together for Ashken, Mikelish, Bjork and Erlaché, with the clock running, with the sectors piecing together. So Bjork quicker than Erlaché in Sector 1, slower in Sector 2. He was slower in Sector 3 and fractionally faster by Sector 4. Over the line comes Jan Erlaché, so the first proper flying lap is a 2:30, and Bjork goes through behind him and does a time 61 thousandths slower. Well, they're evenly matched, those Link & Co's, aren't they?
They certainly are, and top two in the championship. Yeah, it's perhaps not surprising. Ashkana was superb yesterday on the gear circuit, and same again on the first flying lap, 2:28.634. So Mikkel Ashkana goes to the top of the times after one flying lap. Mikkelix is second, Norby Mikkelix with a time of 2:29.446, 2:28.634. Ashkana's first time, really impressive that.
Yeah, he's had a really bad season, has Mikkel Ashkana, by his high standards, or he was a winner at Inja, so he's had one victory, but it's been a tough year. And we have got a yellow flag in Sector 2. Guerrieri is off the road, and I think that's Lisboa who's gone straight on. Just like yesterday, Hondas have a different track map as far as Lisboa is concerned, but he's outbraked himself and gone up the escape road. He was able to keep the engine running, get going. Session remains live. Hooray.
Much better turn around today.
Well,
he's a practice yesterday.
Well, yes, exactly. In fairness, it wasn't just Guerrieri who was up the escape road. Teammate Pepe Oriola, who's not raced here since 2018, he was up the escape road as well. And it was a GOAT Racing Honda that won the gear race last year, wasn't it? In the wet race that was much delayed, but Dustin Borkovich came through to win it.
Got some fast drivers in this field for the gear race for Macau in 2025, and they showed their class yesterday that they could get some continuous running in free practice yesterday. Two sessions we had, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and we did manage to get a good few continuous laps. That's one of the keys to this. You get the heat into the tyres, and then if you can do 1, 2, 3 quick laps, then you're into the swing of things, and that's what they need to do. Get a bit of momentum going in this, get a bit of rhythm in this first section of qualifying.
Santiago Urrutia is 9th plus 24, so with all the penalties, where he puts himself in the order is rather academic. As you look there at the Hyundai coming out of Fisherman's Bend, so Norbert Mikelish comes now. He won the championship here a year ago down towards our bend. Mikelish comes through, the gap 8/10 off Ashkana, as Urrutia just goes through 6th fastest now. Mikelish crosses the line and goes slightly quicker, but not enough to overhaul Mikkel Ashkana. So Ashkana, Mikelish, and now Nestor Girolami up to 3rd. Nestor Girolami in another of the Hyundai, so it's a Hyundai lockout at the top, then Alaché Bjork and Martin Hua. So you've got 3 Hyundais and then 4 Lincoln Co's, because Santiago Urrutia is 7th. And then something different, a Cupra is 8th, Aurélien Comte, Honda 9th, Esteban Guerrieri, and a Cupra 10th in the hands of Max Hart, who was very much a late call-up for the weekend.
And loves the car. Saw some of the comments yesterday. It says it's different, but absolutely loving being here at Macau on the gear circuit this weekend. And you know, the interesting thing is, if he started the week thinking this was just a weekend off at home, and then he gets the call, which he did, with just a couple of days before the event got underway, and can you have a look at flights? We need to get you out here, and pack a bag, and you're on your way before you know it. It's a bit of a whirlwind week, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then to find yourself, instead of being on a simulator, actually being here at Macau once again, somewhere where he has won races before and knows what he's doing around the gear circuit here at Macau. He could be really one to have a good result this weekend.
I reckon the gear race, given that it starts with the reverse grid of the top 10 out of qualifying, yes, definitely. And right now he's in that top 10, so he's going nicely. 11th is the quicker of our 2 Australian visitors from TCR Australia, Josh Buchan. Pepe Oriola is currently 13th, filing off the rust. Lo Seho's a bit disappointing, he's only 16th currently. You're riding with Norby Mikelish then as he comes out of Donna Maria. This very narrow section of the circuit, down to the Malco hairpin. It's a little bit wider on entry, but it is so tight the other side. It's partly the problem of getting 2 cars side by side. It's partly the problem of the lock to get around the hairpin even. So Guerrieri then into the pits. See the tyres allocated for number 186 Honda, the GOAT racing car. And still 20 minutes of this first section of qualifying remains. Ignacio Montenegro has gone back out after a stop.
Yep, a third of Q1 is now complete, half an hour in total, under 20 minutes left, 19 and a half minutes of qualifying remain, and Mikkel Ashkona top of the times. Norby Mikulits second position and into pit lane. And that's going to be the story of this lap, isn't it? So many of them coming down into pit lane. Jan Elaché in fourth place, Ted Bjork in fifth place, and there are only, I think, maybe 4 or 5 cars that remain out on circuit in the top 17 cars.
Yeah, time for a new set of tyres. So there, Jan Elaché's Lincoln Co. Ted Bjork, his championship rival, is now 5th and Elaché 4th. So they're still very competitive, very evenly matched here. But Ted Bjork, who's been a race winner here in the past, Jan Elaché has not been. Ted Bjork the slower of the two. Mikkel Ashkona remaining the fastest. As drivers here have a look at the times. The iPad put over the steering wheel just while the cars have the tyres changed. New set of Kumhos go on. So there is Norby Mikulits ready to go back out for the BRC Hyundai N Squadra course. Minutes on the clock. This is Ignacio Montenegro in his Goat Racing Honda coming up towards the end of a lap. He's only just gone back out, so he's trying to get the tyres back up to temperature, get the pressures back up as well.
In the sunshine today here at Macau, it's a slightly easier job than we had with the slightly cooler temperatures, a bit more windy yesterday as well. The wind has dropped just opposite the commentary box as we look over the circuit and over part of the paddock here at Macau. There are a number of trees, and on the other side of that we've got a huge amount of water, and you can see that yesterday it was really quite blustery over there on the other side of the circuit. Today, pretty still, pretty warm, and for the first time for a little while we've seen today umbrellas being used in the grandstands to shield from the sunshine rather than, well, first thing this morning, bit of rain. It was quite a bit of overnight rain last night. Late part of the evening it was getting a bit drizzly, and then quite a bit of rain fell. You wouldn't believe it now. First thing this morning here on the gear circuit, there were definite wet patches, and in certain areas there were puddles as well offline. So the circuit has dried out nicely now. It's still a little bit humid. It's always a little humid here at Macau, but 72% humidity before this session got underway, and we are coming up towards the halfway marker in this Q1 of qualifying to sift out and get the top 12 to go into quarter of an hour of qualifying for Q2.
And right now, that top 12 are Ashkona, Mikulits, Girolami, Elaché, Bjork, Mar, Urrutia, Comte, Guerrieri, Hart, Josh Buchan, and then Lo Se Ho, who has improved into the top dozen. And that therefore pushes this man out of it, Ignacio Montenegro. Pepe Oriola is still not quite far off of the rust, has he? The Goat Racing team manager, been out of the cockpit for a while, couple of years since he last raced anywhere. And what about 7 since he last raced here? And Oriola, who has rejoined the session, needing to find a big chunk of time still.
2 Australians we've got competing in this final rounds of the Kumho FIA TCR World Tour, and that is Josh Buchan, who is currently in 11th place, as David just said, and Ryan McMillan, who is outside the top 12, so the cut-off point is down there in 15th place. But Josh Buchan in 11th place, that's good news. Looking forward to the conclusion of this first section of qualifying, coming up towards the start of the second quarter of an hour, the halfway point in this qualifying session. It's Mikkel Ashkona top of the times, Norby Mikulits in second position, Mr. Girolami in third, and then these two at the top of the World Championship standings, Jan Elaché just ahead of Ted Bjork.
So the Goat Racing engineers looking at all of their data. That is Lo Se Ho going through, and he's now been elbowed back down to 13th because Ignacio Montenegro has gone into the top 8 once more. So Lo Se-ho comes down towards Mandarin, and he's got the road to himself at the moment in the older Hyundai. Comes out of Mandarin, where 3 years ago he had a mighty accident, but Lo Se-ho down towards Lisboa, stands on the brakes and attacks the corner. Now accelerates out the other side of it, trying to find a little bit of time, and he is not doing so, sadly, on this lap. A little bit slower than he has been regular over the years, whether it's been in Asian touring cars, TCR Asia, China GT, TCR International, TCR China, TCR Asia. He certainly understands touring car racing, does Lo Se-ho, and currently 13th. The car that he's after really is Josh Buchan, and he's got to find about 2 tenths to get ahead.
Didn't really look that committed, did it, as the car went through Lisboa. So see what happens in the second half of Q1 now, as we ride on board with the 168 car, and that is the car of championship leader Yann Alaché in the Lincoln Co.
Really had to fight the car into Lisboa. You could see how much energy was being put into the steering wheel as it found all the bumps and was hard to slow down, and it's still occupying a lot of attention as he goes through the S's, and we've got a damaged car there which he's up against the barriers coming out of turn 2. This, I fear, might stop the session. Ryan McMillan, as you can see, has hit the wall very hard and broken the suspension on the rear. Red flag, out it comes. So 13 minutes on the clock, but the session can't carry on with the car where it is, so the session is stopped, and that's going to need to be retrieved. That's a big frustration because everybody has just gone back out on a new set of tyres.
Cars onwards into pit lane. See what happened to Ryan McMillan.
Too fast. Simple as. Too much speed carried through the corner, couldn't hold on to it, rattles up against the wall, breaks the rear suspension, and gets the car stopped as quickly as he can, but you can't get Marshall's trackside to get it out of the way, so we have to stop the session in order to do it. But it was a big impact, that's for sure, and it's a left-hand drive car, so the best news of all of that is that Ryan McMillan is okay, because that would have been quite a whack through the car, quite an impact. So he was 15th, and therefore is certainly not going to get himself into that top 12 for Q2. Car being retrieved, and as soon as the track's clear, we can think about getting the session back underway. So the car's coming down the pit road. That is our 9th red flag of the day, if you top them all up from the previous sessions. And there the engineers await their respective cars, and they'll be on the radio to the driver explaining what they need to be doing on this in-lap and asking if there's anything that then needs to be tweaked once they're in the pit lane. Yann Alaché makes his way back to the pit road. Marcin Hua's car has just been stopped on the scrutineering flat patch down in the pit lane approach. So everybody makes their way to the pits, and the recovery of a rather broken Hyundai can be underway out on the track, can't it?
Certainly can, and Esteban Guerrieri's car being pushed back in pit lane. So too Pepe Oriola's car down in pit lane, and back to this stricken car of Ryan McMillan. Quite a bit of debris flew off the car after that contact with the barrier before the car came to a stop. So the marshals doing the job of picking up various bits, putting them in a bucket and tipping them inside the car before it gets recovered back to pit lane. But there was quite a bit of debris in that run down towards where the car came to a stop.
Now let's head to Gabriele Rizzo from the Hyundai squad while we have this red flag. Alex Liqui is down there with Gabriele.
Ciao, Gabby. Right, strategy seems to be paying off so far. What's the feedback that you're getting from the drivers out there?
Well, the track is hotter, so it shifts a bit the balance compared to yesterday. We are pretty good now, but it's still a long session, both Q1 and Q2. We have the advantage that yesterday we put a lot of new tires. Probably you noticed. And so that's has an effect on the beginning of the queue. Let's see how it will end. We keep focus.
All right, good. Grazie mille.
Interesting to hear that the weather has really changed the balance of the cars now that it's hotter than it was yesterday. So what they learnt yesterday doesn't necessarily translate to today's plan. And the best lap of Ryan McMillan is being taken off him for causing the stoppage. So there's the car craned onto the back of the flatbed. We're not far from getting things back underway. I think we're looking at about 3.5 minutes.
We haven't really had this lovely, hot, sunny condition at Macau, which is the typical condition of racing at Macau. For a little while, last year was a little bit challenging as far as rain was concerned. We're going to have another look at this and see what led up to the stoppage that we've got just too quick. You're absolutely right, David, just too quick going through the corner, and then it takes a long time to come to a stop after that. Bits rolling off the car, and they're the bits of car that the marshals were busy picking up, but that is quite damaged on both sides of the car, and it's now on the back of that recovery vehicle. And you're absolutely right, just asking too much of the car.
First time here, Ryan McMillan, having raced single-seaters back home last year. He was the Australia Formula Open Series champion, so making the switch to touring cars this year. TCR Australia's had a pretty difficult season, to say the least, with races being cancelled because of lack of entries, and then the entry not growing because there was fear of races being cancelled. It was that chicken and egg situation. But finally, races were run, and the other Australian representative is double TCR Australia champion Josh Buchan. And he has also been a winner outright this year in TCR World Tour. So Mikael Ashkona there, who is the fastest, waiting to go back out, and it's going to be 1.5 minutes, give or take, when the green light goes on at the end of the pit lane. Ashkona, as I've been saying over the course of the weekend thus far, having had a really tough season, but he's been a successful driver in the past, twice TCR Europe champion, WTCR champion in 2022 as well. That car, just to make the point about Ashkona, carries an extra 20 kilos of success weight. We haven't really touched on weight, but again, you do well, you carry weight. Norbert Mikelish has 10 kilos, Aurelien Comte Cooper has 40, Ted Björk's Lincoln Co has 30, and so too does Jan Erlacher. So they've got the same weight as each other, Erlacher and Björk. So again, there's nothing really to give an advantage to either or.
Here we go, we're about to get things back on the way to find out who the top 12 are to go into the second session of qualifying into Q2, and that's the rather sad sights of the HMO Customer Racing Hyundai Elantra N. Ryan McMillan being brought back on the flatbed recovery vehicle, back down to pit lane, and we're in the final countdown to get cars back out on circuit. 13 minutes just over of this session remaining, all the cars being held until the word is given and the green light shows down in pit lane to get this session back underway. So this first section of qualifying to find out the top 12 that will go through into quarter of an hour for Q2, and as soon as word is given, we need to get heat back into temperature into the tyres, and the green flag is waved, so the session back underway. And as you say, David, to hear down in pit lane how the warmer temperatures today make the big effect on the way the cars are handling. It also allows them to get heat back into the rubber a lot quicker on this outlap from pit lane.
Does indeed, and you can see everybody back on track now, weaving around again to get tire temp and pressures back up, and 12.5 minutes are on the clock. And this is only Q1, don't forget. We take the top 12 and they get 15 minutes to determine the pointy end of the grid. 17 cars this weekend. Is one of the smaller gear race entries in recent years, but it is a very competitive one, and a lot of good drivers all up at the sharp end. So it's going to be a brace of races that are really, really good around here, and one will be Saturday, one will be Sunday.
And a brace of Hyundais make their way into Lisboa. I suppose you'd be happier surrounded by your teammates rather than anyone else going into Lisboa on the warm-up lap, just to get heat into the tyres. It's Mikkel Ashkona who is top of the times, 2:28.634. I fancy that time may be bettered in the second half of qualifying if they can get running without interruption. Now, one interruption so far in qualifying for Ryan McMillan's car. He finishes up at this stage in 16th position, having put in his personal best lap on the previous lap before coming to grief at that penultimate turn on the gear circuit. So, as they thread their way around the twisty section on the Macau gear circuit, get the tyres back up to temperature, what do you think's about to happen? Is there going to be any big surprise in this final 11 minutes of Q1, David?
I'm slightly intrigued to see what the track positioning is of the Lincoln Co's, because I would have thought it would be advisable to get Urrutia at the head of the queue. As we've explained, he's going to start 24th, 17th on the grid. He's going to start last on the grid, come what may. So get him to the head of the field of Lincoln Co's, let him tow Alache for a lap or two, let him tow Bjork for a lap or two. Now, it might be that the team is quite content to do that only in Q2, because at this point it's about not being slow rather than about being quick. Yeah. You need to be in that top 12, and with only 17 in the entry, it's pretty much achievable. So maybe they're not that concerned yet, and they will take that plan for Q2. So I'm not convinced we are going to see any major surprises. At the moment, the one who's on the bubble is Josh Buchan. So really it's going to be to see, I suppose, whether Lo Se-Ho could break into the top dozen, or indeed Pepe Oriola, who is 14th. And it'd be quite nice in his return to racing if Pepe could make it through to Q2.
It'd be interesting as well. Josh Buchan, as you rightly said, is a round winner this year in the TCR World Tour. Was out in Australia, in Korea, didn't compete in China, but is here in Macau and won in Korea. So let's see what's about to happen in the final 9.5 minutes of qualifying. They go on to their first qualifying laps. See just how tight they are to the barrier on the exits of Lisboa. It's inch perfect, planned to absolute perfection. We've got a yellow flag down there as well.
Yeah, and it's because Nestor Girolami has gone straight on in his Hyundai. So Girolami trying to get himself back in the right direction, as just before all of that, Mikkel Ashkona did an absolute best in Sector 2. So Girolami trying to get going again. He's got the car in the right direction. But has he stalled it, or is he waiting for an instruction from the marshal to get going? Either way, he, I think, is now on the move.
On his way. Yann Alache has just put an overall best in Sector 3, so a purple sector for Yann Alache. Currently down there in 4th for the championship leader, and a purple sector in Sector 3. That's one of the important sectors to go quickly in, to sprint together an overall best lap around the 6-kilometre circuit here from the gear circuit in Macau. So we'll keep an eye on Yann Alache. Personal best sectors 1 and 2 and 4 now, and an overall best in Sector 3. That may well see Yann Alache go up the order, coming down there in 4th place. Mikkel Ashkona, top of the time so far, and has just put in overall best in Sector 2. The other sectors up to Sector 4, nothing in particular. And Yann Alache does go up 1 place, so personal best in all sectors apart from Sector 3, which was an overall best. So Yann Alache, the Frenchman, leading the championship up in the 3rd. But as you say, this is all about getting through into Q2.
Right, so that's Pepe Oriola who goes over the timing line. We just had Esteban Guerrieri improved to 8th, and Oriola 12th now. So he's got himself into Q2. Max Hart's up to 10th, and then finds himself down to 11th as others start to go a little bit quicker. Yeah, Josh Buchan up to 9th. So actually this is quite interesting, isn't it? Because now the lap times are coming thick and fast and more shuffles to the order, but it's still Ashkona at the very top, having gone faster again last time around. Ashkona did a 2:28.610 just to stretch the margin to 3/10 over Norbert Mikelish.
Yeah, so Ashkona still at the top of the times, but with an improved time, and that's a 2:28.610. Pepe Oriola comes through the circuit, threading his way through. It was a while. You mentioned yesterday when the last time that Pepe Oriola was here at the Gia circuit. I mean, you never forget it, do you?
No.
I think it's more years than I thought it would have been. It's quite a few years since he was here.
2018.
2018
yeah.
is a lot longer than I thought it was.
He's not raced in the championship since 2023.
No.
But yes, 2018, it's been a long spell. And bit by bit, the rust is filing off, except that as others have gone faster, he's now been bumped out of the top 12. Lo Seho is up to 12, and Ignacio Montenegro's got into the top 10 as well. So the net result is that Oriola's tenure in the top dozen did not last for very long. And on this lap, Oriola's on a personal best sector 1, but I'm afraid sectors 2 and 3 are a little bit slower. So I'm not convinced he's going to be able to fight back, although we've got a couple of laps yet. He might be able to do it, 5.5 minutes. Aurelian Comte's Cupra here, coming through Donna Maria.
It would be nice to see Lo Seho go through into Q2,
yeah,
though. He's there in 12th place at the moment. Max Hart is in 11th and was really happy and comfortable with the car yesterday, and is very good around the Gia circuit here at Macau, having stood on the top step of the podium here, and to see him go through into Q2 would be good as well. But, yeah, so we're keeping our eyes focused really on the drop point now, with diminishing minutes left, 5 minutes just under of Q1 remain.
Aurelian Comte here in the Cupra, 13th, and he's heading for the pit lane. So Aurelian Comte having a tough session, and just to throw a little bit of salt into the wound, his new teammate, Max Hart, who is having his first outing in the car, is quicker than Comte, who's been a regular in the championship.
But Max Hart is good now.
Oh, we know that.
And
yeah,
it takes
absolutely.
a unique driver to excel at the Gia circuit here at Macau. We've had a few of them over the years, and it has been responsible for claiming world titles here. If you're good at Macau, it's been historically the final meeting of a world championship year. And Andy Prio, exceptional here at Macau, and I'm sure contributed hugely to claiming multiple titles in the World Championship, and so too Rob Huff as well, who has been so good around the streets of Macau and is missed in this lineup this year. First time for a long time we've not had Rob Huff here competing at Macau, and it's a shame not to have him here.
It is. Nothing lasts forever, I'm afraid to say. He was going to miss a year at some point, so very busy in historics these days is Rob Huff, and also with his driver management company. But the next generation of touring car star.
And his coffee company.
Oh, his coffee company and everything else. Yes, I've got the coffee. Yes. Yeah, Andy Prio, as you touch on, was presented with an award by the VRDC a few years ago. The VRDC, British Racing Drivers Club, has Superstars and Rising Stars, young driver programmes. And when he received his trophy, Andy said, "Does this make me a member now of the Fading Stars programme?" He took it all in good part. So, but still very competitive himself in historic racing as well. But yeah, two Brits that really stamped their mark on the World Touring Car Championship through success at the Gia circuit. Right, Nestor Girolami, after his trip up the escape road, is back on track. Makes the run down the hill once again, and the session drawing to a close here. At least Q1 is, yeah.
2 minutes and 40 seconds to be precise remain on the clock as we look at Nestor Girolami and Mikel Ashkona down in pit lane now, and that's the car which is top of the times. So just time to have a little look, have a little polish, and make sure that the car is looking its best and prepared for Q2. Car 112, Santiago Urrutia, just weaving the car on the run-in towards pit lane. And I think we've seen just about as much as we're going to see from this qualifying session for Q1. And Lo Seho, if it stands remains the way it stands at the moment, is going to make his way through into Q2. So too is Max Hart, 12th and 11th places respectively, towards the end of Q1. Less than 2 minutes to go. Ted Bjork, second in the championship. And in the foreground, Jan Ellershey, championship leader. The car pulled back. And of course, this is all running up towards the race on Sunday, the hugely respected Macau gear race. 10 laps around the gear circuit on Sunday at 11 o'clock local time for the touring car race. They race tomorrow over 10 laps. That's early afternoon, 20 past 1 in the afternoon. But looking at Nestor Girolami bringing his car down into pit lane as well. Q1 is about to come to a conclusion, and Ashkana, Mikelic and Jan Ellershey, the top three, with Santiago Urrutia. Top four, Ted Bjork in 5th and Girolami in 6th position. Some of them are still pressing on the circuit. Only Lo Si Ho putting in a personal best in sector 2 on that lap. He's still down there in 12th place. And as they continue onwards towards the completion of Q1, half a minute to go. In the foreground you see the number 69 car of Andy Liang. In his Eurasia Motorsport entered Hyundai Elantra, and Pepe Ariola just having a look down on the inside. Almost going wrong there for Andy Liang, squeezing the car round at Lisboa, and then on the run-up San Francisco Hill. Checkered flag is going to come out in 3, 2, 1. Checkered flag, and the end of Q1 for the Macau gear race. Kumho FIA TCR World Tour, final event of the year, the event of Macau. And I think, David, we've got our top 12.
I think you're right, and they are Mikael Ajkana, Norbert Mikelic, Jan Ellershey. Santiago Urrutia will go through, even though he's got the grid drops. Ted Bjork, Nestor Girolami, Marshall Ha, Esteban Guerrieri, Josh Buchan, Ignacio Montenegro, Max Hart and Lo Si Ho. Q2 is going to start in just over 10 minutes time, so they've got a moment or two to get back to the pit lane, do anything they need to. And oh hello, debris on the road there, coming from Oriola's car, and scuff marks on the front left corner as well. And it's the mirror, I think, that's taking the pounding. The left-hand side of the car was where the impact was, so the mirror has rather exploded.
Can I just squeeze in my favourite Macau Rob Huff quote then? If you've still got wing mirrors, you're not trying hard enough.
This is true. This is true. Let's have a look at what happened then, as the Goat Racing team are keen to find out what the team manager did. Here you go, runs too wide, yeah, bounces off the barrier, and that's why all the debris flies. So he ran deep into the corner, coming through the approach to Moorish. Kind of bounce off it in a touring car in a way that you can't in a single-seater. So the driver's now taking the checkered flag and ready for the sort of 10-minute time between sessions. Aurélien Comte did go back out for one last run, so as he comes up towards the checkered flag, this might actually put him into the top 12, because he's got a couple of personal best sector times. He's got a dodge past Andy Liang's Hyundai, which he does. So Aurélien Comte then, to try to get into the top 12, comes across the timing line and improves the lap, but misses out by a tenth, just under a tenth. So Lo Si Ho survives to go into Q2. Engineers quickly on the radio to tell the drivers whether they're in or not and what they need to do on the in-lap. So Ajkana from Mikelic, the top two, Ellershey third, and Urrutia fourth. But now he becomes the sacrificial lamb, I think, to do all the towing around. Fifth, Ted Bjork, and sixth in the times, Nestor Girolami. And you can see the margins there, pretty narrow, especially Mikelic to Ellershey. So
a second covering the top 5 in Q1. Girolami, Marcin-Roy, Guerrieri, Buchan, Montenegro, Hart and Losiho are the top 12 at the end of Q1. Busy time now for the teams down in pit lane, making sure the cars are absolutely as they need to be. In fairness, Ashkener has been down in pit lane for quite a while now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's looked very, very impressive all weekend, has Mikael Ashkener. So certainly a man to watch. In terms of the gear race, that awarded to race 2 of the weekend. So you're sort of looking at this in TCR World Tour team terms, but also in terms of the history of the gear race. And recent victors, Dusan Borkovic not racing this weekend, Fred Vervish not here, the COVID years, Philippe de Souza, and he's not here, Zhang Jichuang not here. Esteban Guerrieri did win the gear race back in 18. Others tend to win race 1, which is on the natural qualifying order, but that's not given the gear race tag. The gear race is the Sunday race, which has the reverse grid. Aurelien Comte, they're making his way to the pit lane, and another one bumps out, Pepe Oriola. And this, in replay again, is Oriola understeering his way wide, glances off the barriers, which ricochet back and forth. The car with a little bit of damage as he hit with the left front corner. It sort of brought the car round, but the net result is that there's a bit of damage. It matters not in as much as he's not going to progress into Q2 anyway. Race 1 of the weekend for them comes tomorrow. The gear race on Sunday, the main Grand Prix day. So there, the cars back to the pit lane. Timing screens all cleared, ready for the second part, which is now about 6 minutes away.
Yep, and 15 minutes on the clock. The timing screens reset, and we have our top 12. And we have teams just making sure that the cars are absolutely ready for 15 minutes. You don't get too long once you're out on circuit with a 15-minute qualifying session. There's a bit of wiggle room, isn't there, with a 30-minute session. Not so much with 15 minutes. You haven't got too long if there is a hold-up, which there very easily could be. And you need to make the lap count straight away at the start of this session.
And again, as we've seen,